Hello, I'm still in inspiring stories from military chaplains. Chapter 3 is called The Last Letter, and here we go. Chaplain Joanne Martindale, Lieutenant Colonel, New Jersey Army National Guard, bless her heart. As a New Jersey National Guardsman, I'm not sure I ever envisioned that on my first night in Iraq, I'd be hiking alone in the middle of the pitch black night to sleeping quarters with no lights and no furniture, and being so tired I'd happily fall into an exhausted sleep on the hard floor. In January 2005, I was deployed with the 42nd Infantry Division to Forward Operating Base, FOB, Speicher, outside Tikrit, Iraq. It's a large base, one of the Army's largest, so it was a busy place. I was coming in to relieve another chaplain as Divisional Support Command Chaplain, and was to have many chaplains under my charge. The journey from Fort Dix to Tikrit was long and exhausting. We finally came into Iraq from Camp Buehring, Kuwait, on a C-130 Hercules cargo plane, and then boarded a bus to the base. It was a school bus-sized vehicle with about 35 people in it. People were shooting at us as we went along. I was new to combat zones, so I was pretty scared. It wasn't safe anywhere. We arrived in the middle of the night and reported in for our CHU, which is Containerized Housing Unit, assignment. As a chaplain, I sort of got pushed to the front of the line. Even so, it was hours before we were assigned our rooms. The sergeant in charge of billeting pointed me in the direction of my CHU. "It's about 1.5 miles down this road," he said. A sergeant handed me a key and finished with some dire words. "The key might not work," he said. "If it doesn't, come back and I'll give you another." The road the sergeant pointed me to was gravel covered, and it was pitch black out, no lights at all. I hate to admit this, but I had forgotten to bring a flashlight. This was my big mistake. I had only moonlight and the stars to guide me along. I started walking. It was hard going. I tripped and fell twice. Finally, I arrived at the CHU with my number on it. The housing units are essentially big white boxes surrounded to the top with sandbags. I tried the key. Of course, it didn't work. Well, I wasn't about to trek back and get another key, so I looked around for a window. I found one that I was able to reach, so I pushed on it and popped the window out. I dropped my bag in and then climbed through. I groped around for a light switch and flipped it on. The lights didn't work. I was alone in the room. Another officer had been assigned to share the room, but she hadn't arrived yet. The room was supposed to have furniture, but it hadn't arrived yet. That didn't bother me. I just lay down on the floor. In my clothes and went to sleep. I hadn't been asleep more than 2 hours when there was a knock at the door. "Chaplain, you need to come quickly," a soldier said. "There's been a mass casualty and we need you at the combat hospital." Now, a mass casualty means 14 or more injured soldiers, so I knew the situation was severe. I leapt up and headed for the door. The current chaplain had been called to the airfield on base, which was 15 miles away, so I was the closest chaplain to the combat hospital, just 1.5 miles away. My escort drove me to the hospital. I walked into the hospital, a large room lined on either side with beds. It was a chaotic scene. There had been an IED, an improvised explosive device. Soldiers with head traumas cried out in distress. Hospital carts rolled and crashed into place as units of blood were rushed to the wounded. Doctors and nurses filled the room, talking and shouting over one another. My chaplain's uniform had a cross on the lapel and another one on the helmet. A surgeon spotted me as soon as I came in. "I'm glad you're here. There's a soldier who's been asking for a chaplain." The surgeon led me down the row to a hospital bed. In it lay a soldier who was bleeding out. The doctors had done what they could, but his head wound was too severe. He had only a few minutes to live. "Please write letters to my family," the dying soldier pleaded with me. I had a notepad in my pocket, something the size of a steno pad. So I took it out. I sat down beside the soldier's bed. "I'm Kevin," the soldier said. "I'm Joanne," I answered. I leaned in so I could look into Kevin's eyes as I wrote. He took hold of my hand, the hand I was holding the pad with, and wrapped his hand around my fingers. He began to speak. With tears welling in his eyes, he addressed his wife first. "Dear Beth, I'm sorry you're not going to see me alive again. Please don't be angry with the Army. It has been an honor to serve my country. I'm sorry," chills. "I'm sorry you're going to have to raise our 2 children by yourself. But I will be with you even from heaven. I respect all the decisions you are going to make, and I'll be with you in every one. If you decide one day to remarry, I will be there to support you. That will be one lucky man. You've been a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother. Our children are lucky to have you for a mother." After a few parting words, Kevin then spoke to his oldest child, a boy about 8 years old. "Son, I am sorry I will not be there to coach your soccer and baseball teams anymore. I will miss that. I enjoyed so much the time we spent together. Don't be angry at the Army. Your dad was serving his country, helping children like you in another land to be free. Listen to your mother. She loves you very much. She will tell you stories about us, how thankful I am for you and your sister. I am very proud of you. I know you will grow up to be a fine young man." Finally, Kevin addressed his daughter, a girl about 5 years old. "I'm sorry I won't be able to see you dance again. I want you to continue with your ballet. You are a beautiful ballerina. I'm sorry I won't be there to walk you down the aisle on your wedding day. But know that I will be there anyway. That will be a special man, the one lucky enough to marry you." When he had finished, Kevin said he would like us to pray. He wanted to pray first, and so he began. "Dear Jesus," he prayed, "I'm coming to see you." That's as far as he got. Kevin died in my arms in that moment. I fought back the tears that came into my eyes. I couldn't afford to break down then. I had a lot of soldiers to see before I was through. In fact, even as I lay Kevin's hand down, the soldier in the bed across the aisle called for me. My work at the hospital went on for 5 hours that night. When I did finally get back to my room, I cried long and hard. I cried for every soldier I attended to that day, but I cried hardest for Kevin. Kevin had asked me to send his letters to his family in Georgia. I could have made copies of them, but I sent away the original letters that I wrote there by Kevin's bedside. I left the notes the way they were, blood from his wounds smearing the pages. I wrote a cover note that I attached to the letters to tell Beth the circumstances of her husband's death. In my cover letter, I offered to visit her if she would like me to. It's not mandatory for chaplains to visit the family on a fallen soldier, but I felt that I wanted to. "It will be another 10 months before I return home," I said. I'll leave it up to you. Sometime later, I received a letter from Beth saying that she would like me to visit her. And so when the time came to return home, I was reunited with my family in Colorado. Then I flew to Georgia to visit Beth. I stayed with Beth and her children for 2 days. The letters had been very hard for her to read, she told me, but she was grateful that I had attended her husband's last moments on earth. As a chaplain, I have had 29 people die in my arms. It is a sacred moment, a moment when you remember what your person has meant to so many people. You know that God has put you here for that moment to offer dignity, love, and compassion in the face of death. You are a reminder that we are all on earth to honor and cherish each other while we are here. It causes me to recognize God's timing of things that are beyond my control. I am aware of my fragility and of the world's great need for healing and compassion amidst all the brokenness. It calls me to bring goodness and love into every encounter of my life. Ooh, boy, that's beautiful. Okay, that was, chills. That was Chaplain Joanne Martindale, who is an ordained Presbyterian minister and served as chaplain at 2 New Jersey psychiatric hospitals, in addition to her service in the New Jersey Army National Guard. She was called up for service the day of 9/11 to comfort and care for the families of those killed in the Twin Towers. In 2005, she was called up for a tour of duty in Iraq. She is the mother of 2 sons, Quinn and Ryan. Thank you for your service, Chaplain. That's a beautiful story. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. See you next time.